The New Orleans Pelicans are currently on a 7-game winning streak. They have won 11 out of their last 13 ball games, and they are sitting at the top of the Western Conference with a record of 18-8. And the Pels are playing some dominating basketball on both sides of the court. Offensively, they have one of the best offenses in all of the NBA. They rank third in the league in total points scored per game, and when it comes to overall offensive rating, they rank number 5 in the NBA. And they've also been playing some lockdown defense. In total steals per game, they rank in at number 2, and in total defensive rating, this team is 3rd in the NBA. So that is a great sign to see from Coach Willie Green and the New Orleans Pelicans. They're scoring the basketball at a very high rate, and then they're coming down and playing some of the best defense in all of the NBA. Now, this video is going to be about the depth of the New Orleans Pelicans, and the reason that I'm so high on the depth and the role players of this team, because I feel like the best players on the New Orleans Pelicans, they haven't been playing their best basketball just yet. We look at a player like Brandon Ingram, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's not playing his best brand of basketball just yet, because when he's been in the lineup for the New Orleans Pelicans, he's been playing at a spectacular level. But with Brandon Ingram, he's just missed 11 out of the 26 games so far for the New Orleans Pelicans, and we know this team is so much better when he's in the lineup. This is a guy that's averaging 21 points per game to go along with 5 assists and 5 rebounds, and he's been very efficient this year. And on any given night, he can go out and get you 30 points. So we always know a player like that, your team is always going to be better with him out on the court. And then also I look at CJ McCollum. Now CJ McCollum, he's not playing terrible basketball right now. I just know that CJ McCollum could be playing so much better. We look at his numbers, he's putting up 17.5 points per game while dishing out 6 assists, which is very solid. But CJ McCollum, he has not been as efficient as we know he can be so far this season. Right now he's shooting 40% from the field and only 31% from the 3-point line, and I could say like over the last 3 or 4 years, CJ McCollum has shot at least 38% from the 3-point line. So I know both of those numbers are going to come up eventually this season. I don't think CJ McCollum forgot how to play basketball over the offseason. We just got to remember that his game is skill based, and he does a lot of his damage for the from the perimeter, and he takes a lot of jump shots. So I'm thinking right now he's just still trying to find that rhythm and find his groove, and once he does, he's going to be playing some much better basketball for the Pelicans. When I look at the roster of the New Orleans Pelicans, the best 3 players on this team when it comes to skill set and it comes to production is Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum. And right now, 2 out of those 3 players, they are currently not the best version of themselves. Brandon Ingram, whenever he does get out there for the New Orleans Pelicans, he's been playing at a spectacular level. The Pels just need him to get out there at a consistent basis. And with CJ McCollum, I think he's putting up some solid numbers, but he's not being as accurate as we all know that he can be. And I think once these 2 things happen for both of these players, the New Orleans Pelicans are going to be so much better than what they are right now. And with that being said, it leads me to ask these 3 questions. How can a team with 2 out of their top 3 players not been the best versions of themselves at this given moment? How can this team be on a 7-game winning streak? How have they won 11 out of their last 13 ball games? And how are they sitting at the top of a very loaded Western Conference? And for me personally, I think the answer to that is that the New Orleans Pelicans and the front office, they have done a great job of adding and developing role players to this team. And I can confidently sit here and say that right now the New Orleans Pelicans have the best bench in all of the NBA. Now, before we go any further in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about today's sponsor, Ultra Game. Ultra Game is a clothing company that creates NBA apparel, and I'm actually wearing one of their products right now. This is a long sleeve shirt. It came with a quarter zipper, and most importantly, it has the logo of my favorite team, the Detroit Pistons. And the great thing about Ultra Game is that they create apparel schedule for all 30 teams in the NBA, and they have so many great styles and selections to choose from. They have zip up and pull over hoodies. They have a bunch of different shirts you guys can choose from. They even create sweatpants and joggers. So if you guys are looking for some new gear to represent your favorite NBA team, I highly suggest Ultra Game. The link will be down low in the description and in the comment section. And another great thing about Ultra Game is that their shop is set up on Amazon, so it's very easy to use and your stuff is going to get to you fairly quickly. Now we can get back to the video. I'm not exaggerating to you guys how great the New Orleans Pelicans bench is right now. We look to their most previous game. It came against the Phoenix Suns, who was previously the #1 team in the Western Conference before the New Orleans Pelicans took that spot. Now this was a very close game. It went into OT, and to close out OT, Coach Willie Green was confident enough to close this game out with 3 players that usually come off the bench. 60% of their lineup were bench players, and those 3 players were Dyson Daniels, Najee Marshall, and Larry Nance Jr. And all 3 of these guys, they did a great job against the Phoenix Suns, and they've also been doing a great job all season long. And I'm really starting to become a big fan of Dyson Daniels, and every time he steps onto the court, he proves that he deserves more minutes. And he is a rookie, so he's going to have to fight for all of his minutes. But in that previous game against the Phoenix Suns, he got the start and he looked great. He finished the game with 11 points and 8 assists, and I feel like we saw him do so many of those things that he was drafted for, rebounding the basketball and immediately starting that fast break, playing great defense all game long. And then offensively, I feel like he did a very great job in the half court. He was knocking down open jumpers, he was cutting hard and finishing around the rim, and just doing a great job of setting up his teammates. So I love what I saw from Dyson Daniels, and I think the Pels did a great job taking him with that 8th overall pick. And also we saw some great play from Larry Nance Jr., who is also one of my favorite players in the league, and I think he's very underrated because he brings so many things to the game of basketball, and to have him coming off the bench is a true blessing. But Larry Nance Jr., he does all of those little things that's not going to show up in the stat sheet. He's setting hard screens, he's boxing out every play, and he's going for every single loose ball. So he has that to his game, and he also has some skill. He can knock down the 3-point shot. He's a great finisher around the rim, and he could put just about anybody in this league on the poster. And then what he can do on the defensive side of the ball, and this is why Coach Willie Green has him close the game over Valanciunas. Sometimes he's just a much more mobile defender, so he can be a little bit more aggressive in those pick and roll situations. He can switch on to a smaller guy, or he can hedge out and get back to that big. So Larry Nance Jr., he was spectacular, and so was Najee Marshall. And Najee Marshall, this season, he seems like he's one of those players that's also each and every game he's just getting better. Yesterday against the Phoenix Suns, he played very solid. He was putting relentless pressure on the Suns defense, driving to the rim and also rebounding and knocking down open shots. So those are just 3 of the role players that the Phoenix Suns have. We haven't even brought up Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, who's also been a little banged up this year. But the New Orleans Pelicans, everybody knows that this team has great talent at the top of their roster. Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, Zion Williamson. Shoot, you can even throw Jonas Valanciunas in there. This is a guy that can get a double-double on any given night. But nonetheless, they have a lot of talent at the top of this team. But what makes them so special, so hard to beat each and every night, is that they have talent at the bottom of this team as well. And the Pelicans legitimately can play 10 players. They can have a 10-man rotation, and it doesn't stop there. If you look at 11 through 15 on this roster, there's some guys on there that can find themselves in a rotation on a different team. So that's how loaded this Pelican squad is. And also, this is not their best brand of basketball. It's like my 3rd time saying that this video, but the Pels BI has only played 15 games so far this year, and he's the second best player on the team. Some people think he is the best player on this team, and then CJ McCollum has not been hitting his shots at a high clip yet. So I'm very excited to see this Pelicans team develop throughout this season, and I think they're definitely going to contend for that title this year. But that's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment down below if you agree or disagree, and then subscribe for more weekly content. We do this all the time, man. And that's curtains.